legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.
All of us coming back. I cannot accept this fade to black, and the thought of the wasted dreams of a nation down on its knees. Is it already over? Tickets to the circus show. If you don't, then you'll never know. Take a stand while you have the time. Drown your fear and keep hope alive. Be the change that you want to see. Be the wrench inside the machine. Is it already over? Is it already over? It's over.
Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome to Small Town Underground. I know this is Monday night, but we decided to do this and do it live to finish up the candidate series that we've been doing here on Small Town Underground. And Kandiss Taylor is with me tonight. She has been on the show. It's been a long time, and she's running down in South Georgia. But we were going to try to do something last night, and it didn't work out. The weekend was just jam-packed, and of course I had some vehicle issues, and I was up late working on it. So we just decided that tonight's the night. We're going to do it. And so Kandiss is joining me here on the live stream. Make sure that you share it out to everywhere, all over the place. She is the one reining in the Meet the Candidate series. And before we start, I just want to tell everybody out there how thankful I am that you've trusted Small Town Underground to bring you as many candidates that have reached out and as much education as we can. We've got a huge primary tomorrow in the state of Georgia, a chance to move Georgia in a different direction and build up the citizens and the movement and the conservatism in this state. And it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, and I appreciate everybody out there helping me share the link. So what better way to send it off? So Kandiss, I want you to welcome you back to the show. It's been a while. Tell us, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, thank you, Roy, for having me. I was so excited to come on with you. I've actually turned down 2 more things to be here with you tonight because it was that important to me. I love Northwest Georgia. If I wasn't living in Georgia's 1st, I would be in Georgia's 14th. I live it up there. And I think one of my best memories with you was at a kind of camping experience we had there on your property, or a property that you use up there, and it was so much fun. And so I'm excited to be here. We've had, since I was on before, I don't know, maybe I came when I was first district chair. I can't remember if I came when I was first district chair or if I came when I was running for governor, but we had a crazy wild convention that went crazy.
It went off the rails.
Went on behind the scenes. And I think a lot of people, assumed I knew things I didn't know and got offended. And so, I want to say, I guess starting out, I wasn't planning on saying this, but I'll be led by the Lord. I think that people can get offended about things that the other person doesn't even know about very easily. And so we have to be careful being offended and judging people. That's why we're not supposed to judge people's hearts, because we don't know their heart without asking them. We're supposed to go to our brother or sister in Christ and have a conversation and not just assume. And so anyway, I am running for Congress in Georgia's 1st district. I will not be ever back in a state GOP seat unless the Lord knocks me out and tells me I have to do it, because that was a rough time. In 1st district, it was great. In 1st district, we raised over $100,000 to get President Trump reelected, but in the state politics, it was nasty.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not wrong, and I think most everybody knows how I feel about the convention. I feel like that the GOP is going through like a very, how do you say this, a crossroads, right? We spent a lot of time people getting involved that weren't very political, and you're coming into a sort of established party of politics, and especially whenever and you might, I don't know, I'm sure you might agree with me, but there's the party politics kind of where we went before we started electing the Marjorie Greens and the Colton Moores was basically, you had people there that were kind of being moved up, and they had a structure going on. And when you bring...
You mean you have to earn your seat? You
Sure.
don't just get to run for a seat because you feel called to it. You have to serve your time,
Right.
and be kind of coronated for a seat.
Right. Well, that's the structure. And then when you add in like sort of this grassroots type movement of people that is completely different and sort of contradictory to that, I think that's what creates these big clashes, where you do have people that want to run, and where we went from a few years ago where we had like, you couldn't even get people up on a debate stage, years ago if they didn't really matter. And like 5 years later, we're seeing everybody up on that debate stage. And, as hard as it was to go through a jungle primary, which I would vote against the jungle primary tomorrow, right? But it was actually refreshing to see 17 candidates and listen to these people and see all of these people taking a stand, where we have people running against incumbents that they've never had a challenger before. So I know it can be real hectic, but I look forward to that, I like that kind of change. So
Yeah, I ran in the U.S. Senate race in 2020, didn't know anything about politics, and there were 21 on the ballot. And I made great friends with some of the Democrats, and still really good friends with Tamara Johnson-Shealy, and she's actually running Republican this time for a state Senate seat. And she was a Democrat at that time, probably more independent, but she, ran Democrat, and now running for Republican. She feels like she's very conservative in many ways. And so anyway, you learn, you run, and you learn your opponents and actually become friends with them most of the time.
Right.
And learn the people that are volunteers for their campaigns, and you're thinking, golly, I really like them. I wish they were not volunteering for them. I wish they were helping me because I love them. And we should be that way. We're Republicans, and we should stick together. The Democrats stick together. They have no problem. But the Republicans, we can't just disagree and do it in a healthy way and then come back together. We have to have a hard issue where we attack and berate and lie and destroy. We can't just disagree like iron sharpens iron. It has to be extreme. And that's not healthy. And I want to see that change. And I hope that, I will see change. I've seen change in my district already when I took over leadership there, and we honor each other better than we did before. And so I think that's what you're talking about, is the grassroots coming in to the establishment. There's a place for all of us in this big tent that we have in the GOP, and we have to honor and respect each other. And one person's idea is not more validated or important because they've been here longer. We're all Americans, and we should love the country, and we should be able to talk to each other and come to an agreement to agree or disagree or see another point of view and grow.
Well, no, I don't disagree with you on that, but I will say that, like you brought up the convention last year, it was a very heavy-handed, one-sided convention, so that's got to change. We've got to get a better leadership who's willing to listen and bring everybody to the table.
We need to not tolerate it.
Right.
My dad always says you get the behavior you tolerate.
Yeah.
And so, had I known the microphones were being blocked and all that stuff was going on, I probably would have walked out the door and left.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was going on. And
as-
so people were mad at me. I said, I had no idea. I was back in nominations. I had no clue this was going on.
Well,
Over.
I don't think that's unbelievable, because I was part of the sergeant at arms, and which I kind of got a raw deal that day. But I did not know that the microphones.
Sergeant at arms.
Well, I didn't know that the microphones were being blocked like they were either. I never even got close to the microphones. You know, it could have been on purpose. Who knows? But the bottom line is, I think we all have better. I mean, the GOP better have learned a valuable lesson about that last convention. I mean, because you're going to run people away. You know, I mean, people are just not going to want to be involved.
I think that as grassroots, we have to come together unified and use Robert's Rules of Order to our advantage, and not just succumb and get angry and be ignorant. We have to educate ourselves, and we have to know the rules better than everybody else.
Yeah, well,
and that's what
duly noted on that. So we do. I think we need a lot more Robert's Rules training. That's for dang sure. So
you equip yourself with knowledge.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to your candidacy. So honestly, it's hard. I'm way up here in North Georgia. I'm just now learning a little bit more about things that are going on in South Georgia. I know that I have close friends that have been battling different things going on, the warehouses issues out of Savannah. Now we're going to data centers we'll get to in a little bit. But just give us your overall view. What is going on down in South Georgia?
I'm right now in the morning. I'm texting one of my volunteers putting out signs at precincts for me. So I'm multitasking. We have the election tomorrow, so we are like, everybody's on hands on deck working tonight, getting everything ready for the morning. South Georgia, District 1, so coastal Georgia, and my corner of the country has been attacked so hard. In our forestry industry, timber industry, I think they're trying to decimate it. Mm-hmm. And it's not just been the solar panels and the data centers. It started with closing 2 of our paper mills, and Canada buying out a huge company that does our pellets and does some of the wood processing, and not being tariffed for the wood they bring in, because Canada gives them free wood to process in America, and then they ship it out, and then Canada gets the money for the production because they own the company. Make that make sense. Let's circumvent the tariff and give them free wood, so then we don't need the wood from South Georgia, and then they make the money on the selling of the wood. So convoluted, and our timber industry is struggling.
Who's directing this?
Foreign nations, and their interest, and they're making the money. They're companies from other nations, and we have timber farmers who the wood now means nothing. Maybe it was worth $7,000 now an acre. Now it's worth $700. It's just completely. Hurricane hit us really hard 2 years ago, and then it's just gone downhill since then. And you've got to think it affects loggers. It affects people that have the loans on the log trucks, and that whether they get paid back or not, or whether they go bankrupt, and it affects everybody. And we're an agriculture state. It's our number one source of revenue, and we're in the timber business down here in South Georgia, and the blueberry business, and they're importing blueberries from other countries overseas, and basically like, we can give you this little check to cover your berries, but you can't sell them. You have to just let them die in the field, and then we'll cut them up because we've already got berries from another country.
Wow.
It's controlled. The government is completely controlling agriculture to the nth degree. And, I'm very disappointed in Tyler Harper, our ag commissioner. I feel like, he needs to stop some of that if he wants to keep his seat, because they're destroying agriculture in South Georgia. I've heard about it now for over a year. It's a huge issue. And then when you move on to other industries, you look at these data centers and the power bills and electricity and the power grid. And I grew up in Appleton County. That's where I live. And my parents both worked at the nuclear power plant, and they still work. I mean, they retired from there. So I'm a nuclear power baby. I understand it well. And nuclear's king. It produces the most electricity. It produces the most jobs. It's safe. It's clean. It's very highly researched and regulated and policy driven, procedure driven. And it takes years to establish one. And we need more nuclear. Solar panels produce very little electricity, and they are damaging our land. They want to go in our fields for row crops. When they can't get that, they want to take over our fields of trees, and then they're not replanted, and then the land's feral, and who knows how long it will be feral, or who's going to come clean up the solar panels once they're ineffective any longer. It's just a joke. And the counties don't want it, and they didn't have regulations in South Georgia. So then Silicon Valley just moves right in on us. And not only did they move in on the county commissioners, they moved into my race and gave up $1.5 million to my opponent, who'd already raised $2 million. And his daddy works as a foreign national lobbyist. And because they want South Georgia, they want South Georgia so bad. And it's a problem because my district has more industry and agriculture and 2 ports and 3 military bases. We have more than any other district in the state.
So they're coming for it pretty hard, right?
Hard.
And that's I think that's something I want to point out. You know, we've had some battles up here with solar farms, but the idea that the best we can do is to take agriculture land that's used for cattle grazing, raising livestock, and put an entire solar panel farm out there just to eat it up for what little that you get. And I love solar power. I mean, as somebody who preps and stuff, solar power is a big part of what we do. But to do that, you think in this day and age we would make a lot better decisions on where we would put this that does not impede farmland as being the #1 agricultural state in Georgia. Make sense to me. How can you be #1 in agriculture, but you're taking all the agriculture land and using it for some sort of industrial purpose?
I mean, you think about Hollywood coming into Atlanta and coming into Georgia, and now you got Silicon Valley coming in here, and it's just California wants to push its way over here on the East Coast. And anybody that can't see that and understand that needs to wake up.
No, I agree.
And we're not the same. We're not the same values. We're not the same people. We don't have the same industries. We're different. And if we don't protect our state, nobody else will.
Right.
We, Georgia, we have to protect our state. And so people are moving in, two different people are in my race that aren't from Georgia. And I'm not saying they're not good people, but they're not rooted here.
Right.
We need to elect people who are rooted in this state. The people that move here come here because of our values. Who's going to protect your values best? People that know it. I've been in South Georgia for 5 generations. I know South Georgia. I know the state of Georgia, and I love it with all of my heart. Nobody's going to love my district more than me, and nobody's going to fight for it like I will. And so you have to get candidates who truly know where they're going to represent, and they won't be bought, and they really have a moral compass, and they honor the Lord. If they don't, they're going to be bought and paid for immediately. And that's what we see happen every single time somebody gets elected.
So, and to touch on that, so, you ran for governor in 2022. I had a big campaign. We were just reeling off of the stolen election in 2020. It's taken us several years now that we can say that freely, that without a shout. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said without being censored.
Without being censored, we know it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And we watched the numbers come in on 2022. So here it is, 2026. You're running for Congress. And, Georgia, they claim it's the #1 state to do business, #1 state of agriculture. A lot of us feel like Georgia is a corporate welfare state. A lot of us believe that Georgia is becoming a state where it's sort of not any, there's no pro-human anymore. It's all kind of industry, tech, and anti-human. What is your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that, or do you think that Georgia's moving in a different direction?
I mean, I think that Georgia is an agriculture state, and if we don't protect agriculture in this state, Georgia doesn't only feed Georgia, we feed the world. Right. And it's not just about the farmland, the row crops, the peanuts, the timber. It's also about the cattle and the chicken houses. And I mean, we have agriculture everywhere, everywhere. And so as these other things creep in on us, and people are so against solar data centers. We're going to have data centers to continue technology progression, unless we want to stop that. And if we want to stop that, then you run the risk of another country with AI destroying you through AI. And so I understand we have to progress there, but we may need to regulate it where it's not used for college assignments and high school assignments and frivolous things that aren't important. And I think, there's no regulation right now. It's just free for all. And the amount of, bandwidth and data being used is just astronomical, and it's snowballing, and it's going to keep doing that. It's not going to get any better unless we do regulate it some. I want less government control, so I don't like using the word regulate, but I feel like in this case, we're not going to have a choice.
Right.
Because otherwise we're going to have data centers everywhere. So I'm not saying we're not going to have a data center, but there's places that are desolate in this country where you can put data centers.
Yeah. Well,
not in the middle of this, what we already have going that's ripe and foliage and dense agriculture. You don't do this instead of and sacrifice a lamb.
Right. So so let me sum it up. Georgia, yes, data centers are a necessity to an extent. We had over 20 bills that went through the legislature this year. None of those bills on any kind of regulations or reining in or tax abatements made it across the threshold on sine die. But we also have seen this sort of a very structured attack where these data centers have come into our rural communities, and they've already been kind of pre-planned and pre-set up, and the land has already been bought. And by the time the ink dries, that's when our commission boards are coming out to their people and telling them, hey, you're going to get a data center. So my question is, how many data centers do we need? Because when we listen to Governor Kemp talk about, he wants to be the number one state to do data centers. Like, what is enough? 5,000 data centers? Like, are we going to have a data center on every corner with a gas station? So, how do you look at regulating that?
I don't want to be the number one state to have data centers.
Right.
At all.
But that's what they're pushing.
Right. I don't care if I'm the last state for data centers. I mean, they can put them in another state that doesn't have the vast resources we have here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. We're in a different situation here. Like I said, with the nuclear power and the ports and the military bases, all the things we have here in North Georgia, you can start naming everything y'all have there. Our state is unique and it's different. And data centers are not what we need here. And I mean, I don't know, we might have some to make our cell phones work. I get it. But for AI generation to stay ahead of the rest of the world, I'm not interested in a data center being in my backyard.
Right.
I'm not interested in a data center being in my district unless the county wants it. And I mean the majority of the people, and it's not going to cause water issues. It's not going to cause electricity issues. It's not going to cause damage, which we don't know what kind of damage it could cause. We can't carcinogens and everything else because we don't have the research.
That's certainly true.
And the people want it. I mean, I'm not going to regulate them where if they really want it and for the tax digest, that's their county. It's America. We should have freedom. But I'm telling you, I've talked to every county, they don't want it.
Right. So in other words, when if you're elected to Congress, like, how will you handle data centers for South Georgia? Like, will you push for regulations for some sort of checks and balances for data centers so that we're not overrun?
Yes, I will. I'll do that not only for South Georgia, but for everyone. We have to regulate this. This is like I said, it's a runaway train. I mean, things like this happen, and it's like, okay, well, AI is great. Oh, I love AI. Okay, and I like AI too. It's fun. Right. It's awesome. But we don't want data centers everywhere. We don't want to lose a water pressure. We don't want to, have a no electricity in the grid and all the things. Okay, well then we have to regulate it.
Yeah, and we talking about nuke plants. I've worked at nuke plants. Your family worked at nuke plants. We're literally going to be building a data center in Georgia right now. That one complex alone will require enough energy that it'll take a nuclear plant alone just to power it. So it's alarming at least
Very alarming.
to think about this, not to mention
Very
the water
alarming.
resources. And okay. So
And
yeah.
it takes 10 to 20 years to even create a nuclear power plant.
Right. And I'm just glad that the conversation is out there, because it's not just us. Every state is getting inundated with this. I know you've probably seen 40,000 acres in Utah, where it's 3,200 acres in Wyoming. I mean, to me, I think that there's a bigger purpose that I don't want to get off into tonight, but I'm not so sure that we even know, you know what I'm saying, what data centers are really going to be for. But
I guess we can just starve to death and we can just be on our phones. Like, we can be here.
Well, you know what do the Georgia Guidestones say? Which, by the way, I've got to cover this really quick. But you were in a conspiracy theory about the Georgia Guidestones, right? I mean,
I think I was in reality. They say 500 million people are going to kill everybody
Right.
else, and they're satanic, and they have no place in America. And I believe Chuck Schumer when he said, there goes Georgia, there goes America. And we have these satanic rocks that are in Elbert County, and nobody knows who put them up, and they're just there, and they're this like shrine, and people come out there and they, want to see them. And not only to do that, I mean, these people look strange, right? They look dark and satanic. And I was there filming a campaign video, and this couple comes up, very dark, emo looking, whatever it's called, and tattoos and piercings everywhere, had on pentagrams, which that's satanic, guys, and came in and had a stray dog, had a rope around its neck, not a leash, not a collar. And I thought, are they coming to sacrifice this dog?
Well,
When they realized we were there, they waited around, and I said, we're not leaving anytime soon. They looked like they wanted to knock me out, but they left with the dog. And I'm just telling you, the things were evil. They were demonic.
Yeah. Oh.
And I said I was going to defund Elbert County until they got rid of the things. And somebody bombed them. I thought they were struck with lightning. That's one of my volunteers called me after they were struck with lightning or bombed or whatever. And they said, Kandiss, you're not going to believe this. We had a bad lightning storm. They got struck with lightning. I said, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah. They did. And one of the pillars or whatever the thing's called, the Stonehenge thing, fell. And I mean, I just started weeping, because I'm like, look at God. I didn't get elected governor, but I wanted the things gone, and the Lord took it out.
Yeah,
So
but didn't they try to twist it around on you, though?
Oh, yeah. It came out later that day that I blew them up, and that one of my volunteers blew them up. That I had crazy, unhinged people. Now, you got to understand, churches have been going there praying over them things to come down for years. Praying,
That's great, yeah.
Wanting them to come down, but all of a sudden it's me. I have a lot of power there, right? And I did have some pastors say, you're pretty prophetic. I said, I know, right? People better Jesus, guns, and babies. And it's like the Supreme Court made 3 rulings: Jesus, guns, and babies within a week of me not winning the governor race. And then the Guidestones got struck with lightning or blown up or whatever.
Right.
But when I was asked about it, the AJC called me and they said, there was some open records they received, and it did have residue from bomb and all that. I said, well, that's not right. And whoever did it needs to be arrested. There's a right way to do things, and committing a crime in this country is not okay. I feel the same way about illegal people that come over here and they don't come the right way. If you're a criminal, you should be dealt with accordingly. It's not fair for our Americans that have a possession charge or speeding really fast, that they can be charged and go to jail, but other people get a free pass. That's not okay. So if you destroy property, you should be arrested and you should be dealt with accordingly. And so, I told them that, and they were like, well, yeah, okay, well, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't want damage to property just because I want the things down. I want them taken down legally, but yeah.
I just remember that story. I remember that story going, wow, this is wild that they're trying to say that Kandiss might have blown those things up. So
satanic Bibles, postcards, pictures of my name on satanic altars, all the things. I guess they don't realize I know who I belong to, and it's Jesus Christ, and he's defeated Satan. So I don't fear Satan. Gotcha.
Now, you brought up a good topic. We can move into illegal immigrants. We have a problem in this country. We started off, I think, last year pretty strong. What are you going to do in Congress to mitigate illegal immigrants in the country? Do you have a plan? Are you happy with the way things are going? How are you going to lead by that?
Well, I think that we're headed in the right direction, and people think that ICE is taking it too far because there's people that, are not illegal that have been detained and different things. You hear about this story every now and then, but we still have millions of illegal immigrants still in our country, and that came over during the Biden regime, and they have to get out. They can't stay. We hear about people dying, often. I won't say every week, but probably every month, even in South Georgia, and it's an illegal criminal that's here that did it, running over a kid on a bicycle because they're fleeing from the police, or wrecking into someone. They're drinking and driving and they wreck someone and they're illegal. They don't have driver's license. They're over here and they kill innocent families. And so I think that we're on the right track, but we are not there yet, but we're getting there.
Right. Yes, I think we need to keep that going as well. So absolutely. I want to move into a little bit of election integrity. So just today, Senator Rick Dozal and Chris Mora and another lady named Kelly Gambrill, they just filed an emergency motion for temporary restraining order and interlocutory injunction. I'm not sure if you've seen this or not, but this is directly related to the fact that Brad Raffensperger, who is currently running for governor of the state, has publicly stated that he will not allow the state election board to come in and act as a proxy for, just watching the votes come in. And many of us are upset. We're going to get into election integrity for a minute, but I'd like to know your take on this. How do you feel about this? And what's your take on this?
Well, I'm glad that they're standing up. I've been doing this for 6 years, standing up for election integrity and fighting like a dog, and people think you're crazy. And my husband's in litigation right now. We got an appeal to the Supreme Court on fighting Brad Raffensperger's attorney, Ryan Germany, and him coming to my little county and having my own county weaponized against me, my own tax money, paying Brad Raffensperger's attorney to fight me just to count the ballots. Because there were felonies and misdemeanors committed. And I know because we got open records and we saw the data. Because, see, this is the deal. Because it's a digital system, it has a digital footprint. And digital footprint can't lie. And so when you know what the open records request and you know what you have legal right to get and you know how to read it, then you can prove it. And there are laws in place that when they're broken, it's misdemeanors and felonies. We have an attorney general who's chosen not to prosecute. We have a state election board who are over their head in, not over their head and not knowing what to do, over their head in the amount of situations,
especially from recent revelations. Yes.
They can't get through all the cases. They want to, and they will, I believe, do what's right, but they can't even hear everything because there's so many of them. Right. And so we're in a situation in Georgia that is really, it's a dire situation. We got a Secretary of State who is running for governor, who's controlling the elections, and the one that controlled the elections, who I believe is a Democrat, Gabe Sterling, is running for Secretary of State. And if they choose to cheat and think they're going to get away with it, if they chose to do that, then we would have them controlling the governor's seat and the Secretary of State seat again. And so I hope people will get engaged, and it's not just me. I'm glad to see Senator Dalzell do that, but we have to say there's a digital footprint. I'm going to get every single thing from my race. I'm going to see what you do, and I'm not going to stop, and I'm not scared. And they try to beat you down with legal fees and get you where you can't afford it, because we're all normal people. We work hard. We're not multimillionaires and billionaires. And, they try to gash out so that you can't continue to fight on. But, at some point we have to have fair, legal, secure elections. President Trump's got 2 years and he's gone. And he promised us on the campaign trail he would handle this, and he hasn't yet. And that's a campaign promise I want to see him fulfill. Yes. But he hasn't. And so we're in a bad situation right now.
So absolutely. And we have executive orders for paper ballots. I mean, obviously you're running for Congress. Many Georgians want a change in our election systems, but we also have, our federal government in Fulton County right now in the middle of litigation, trying to solve some of these problems. So as a congressman, what is your take on all this, and what will you do to help ensure that we can get some fair and transparent elections in Georgia?
We know the elections are state right in the Constitution. However, comma, my old principal liked to say that, we have to ensure we have fair, legal federal elections, because those are federal races. And so we're not going to have two different voting systems. If we do a bill and we say this is how it's going to be, you're going to have paper ballots and you're going to hand count them, and you can use any computer system you want to count them, but they're going to have to be reconciled by hand count. And, you can't just do no excuse absentee ballots, and you can't, do all this frivolous stuff to be able to cheat, to make it easy to cheat.
Yeah.
Okay, the government kept saying, let's make it hard, easy to vote and hard to cheat. It's a joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, would you
And
be?
so-
Go ahead. Finish up.
But that's it. We've got to get it secure as fast as we can federally, so they comply in every state. You're not going to have. It's just like when Roe was overturned. They took the easy way out. The SCOTUS did. They overturned Roe, but they didn't say abortion's murder. Stop doing it. They pushed it back to the state. Oh, it's a state right. Well, in Georgia, we have the heartbeat bill. Okay, but if you don't take the baby's heartbeat and you lie about how far along you are, you can have an abortion. You can kill a baby.
There's still many loopholes there that we need to solve. Absolutely. As far as elections in Congress, would you be open to? Obviously, it might be a state issue on closed primaries, but a lot of people are talking about like federal holiday, single day voting, that kind of moving in that direction, instead of like we're voting, 180 days before primary. What's your take on that? What kind of ideas would you have on a federal
You
level?
don't like election month? Boy?
No, I hate it. I will vote on election day. And I do know, and before I get slack, I know that there's always situations you have to make sure that disabled people, veterans, all that's taken care of. But I would love to see a federal election holiday where we take all of this, put it into one day, everybody celebrates, shoots fireworks, goes swimming, whatever, and we're done with it. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, we need election day. We went from a few early voting days to a week of early voting to a month of early voting.
Exactly.
And I think that it's watered everything down where people don't vote.
Yeah. And
it makes it where it's not important.
Right.
It's like my vote don't matter, and you can vote for a month, and
Well,
I'll vote at some point. It's not important, and it needs to change,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be election day. And
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. It needs to be election day, and we need to make it a holiday, or make it where at least if you're working, you have to allow your employee to go vote.
Yeah, and I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole, but if you kind of think about the grand scheme of digital voting, the longer the window that you have, the more information that you can get, which leads to planning and preparing and doing things and having the leg up. I just feel like everything always has a back door, no matter what it is, there seems to be a back door where somebody can manipulate something, and the people are just tired of that crap,
Well, there's one race that I voted already that, because I voted on the first day of early voting, because I knew on election day I was
Sure.
going to be campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went ahead and did that. And there's one of my votes I would change. And so, you really, you vote early, and there's still a month left of campaigning to come out, and you may see true colors that you didn't know about.
Right. Sure, I get that. So we'll cover a couple more, areas near and dear to my heart. Number one, the Constitution. Obviously, you're going to be going up to D.C. should you win. We've got some major issues up there. I'm not big on these FISA warrants, but more importantly, give us your overall opinion on the Constitution, protecting it by especially my First Amendment, Second Amendment rights. Just give me your take on that.
Well, I'm a member of the John Birch Society because I love the Constitution, and we're a constitutional republic. Every time somebody calls us a democracy, my skin crawls because it feels ignorant to me. And I mean, there's people in really high seats, even presidential seats, that call it a democracy. We're not. We're a constitutional republic.
Amen.
And we need to protect that at all costs, or we're not America. And we're seeing capitalism slide, and we're seeing other, like the weaponization of the government's done in healthcare and in farming Every time the government gets involved, they destroy something. And so capitalism's king. That's what made America America. And the opportunity to have one creative idea and be a multimillionaire, be a billionaire. That's what makes our country free and great and wonderful. And it's where everybody wants to come live, and it made us wealthy. But we've gone to a communism approach of let's just keep printing money, and we'll just keep printing the money. We don't, we'll do whatever we want. We'll fund everything. We'll pay people not to work. We'll pay people to sit home. We'll buy all their food. And this approach, it's destroying us. It really is. It's destroying us. And that's why affordability is the number one issue that's being talked about everywhere. I hear about it. Between that and the solar panel farms and the data centers have taken probably the precedent conversation in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Before that, this whole year, all I've heard about is affordability.
Sure.
And so we have to protect the Constitution, capitalism. That's going to fix. It's what made us. It's what created this country, made us great, and it's what's the only thing that's going to dig us out of this is capitalism.
Right.
And we have to get people in there that are capitalistic minded and not just going to keep making more bureaucracy for us all to follow and costing us more money. Everything costs money, and we just continue to create more bills. You don't ever see them go up there and delete bills and go and look at old bills and cancel them. All they do is create more and more and more. And they can't write a single bill. They have to have a big, beautiful bill. They have to have everything in the kitchen sink in a bill so that everybody can get what they want.
So I take it you're not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of us doing all this stuff wrapped up into one and then me being pressured and bullied into voting for that one thing.
Right.
It needs to stop. We need to have some singular or two or three ideas that go together when we're voting. We have the majority of the House and the Senate and the executive branch, and we can't get things passed. Now that's dumb.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Now, Second Amendment.
First Amendment is the most important amendment. It's first. It's our right to free speech. If we can't debate issues, we can't talk about issues as Republicans, and we can't be America. That's what makes us great. Right. And so, but we should get over stuff, guys, and quit holding grudges. The Bible says to forgive 70 times 7 or you won't be forgiven. So you have to quit being offended and lying about people and just, this got to stop. It's not godly. And calling yourself a Christian, me included. I have to forgive. I don't want to forgive people who lie about me every single day and make up stuff, but I choose to forgive. And I quote scripture, vengeance is the Lord's, and I'm standing on the word. His word cannot return void. We have to stop this as Republicans. It's destroying our party. We have to stop. Right. But the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment because it's the second most important thing we have, and it's how we stay alive. If we did not have the Second Amendment, we would already be dead in this country because the other countries hate us so much, and our own government would be weaponized against us, where they would have a police state, which we're already seeing happen with the flock cameras and the all the cameras and all the surveillance that's being, it's just going to raise us a little bit of money. It's just going, no. Yeah. It's watching us. Our phones right now. I mean, if you don't think this phone video can turn on and hear your conversation, and it's just we're totally under video surveillance all the time, and so we have to be mindful of that and stop just going along with this progression of technology to the point of losing our freedom.
No, I totally agree. They call it the technocratic state. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So. Let's move to a little bit of Maha. We started off. We've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the Maha movement. We're going. So, give us your overall opinion on that. Like, what would you do in Congress to help strengthen the health of Americans?
Well, one thing, we're going to quit all these vaccines.
Amen.
So my daughter is a type 1 diabetic. She got her middle school shots that were mandatory, and within 6 months, within 5 months, she was a diabetic. They said, she had a viral infection. No, she didn't have a viral infection. She got shot up with a vaccine that was required by the state, and her body had an adverse reaction and killed her beta cells out of her pancreas because they thought it was a foreign object. And now she's on insulin dependent, which I believe that we could have a cure for insulin with stem cells very quickly, but diabetes is on the rise. You hear about type 1 diabetics. I'm not talking about type 2. It's a lifestyle or even inherited, bad genes where you're insulin resistant. I'm talking about type 1 that you can't help. It's an autoimmune disorder, and all these autoimmune disorders. Never knew what an autoimmune disorder was 30 years ago, but now because of the vaccine push, you think about thyroid issues, psoriasis, eczema, type 1 diabetes, fibromyalgia, all these autoimmune things. And we don't think that they're linked to vaccines. That's the only thing we've changed. We've increased these vaccines astronomically, and so that's got to stop. We've got to be wise and not this mRNA thing and all the push just to give 87 vaccines. Autism's on the rise, has been. I mean, when I was in school, I started school in 1985 and didn't know what autism was. It wasn't a thing.
Right.
And now in public education, we see is constant. Children, even when they don't have autism, you see tendencies.
And they want to medicate them. Yeah.
Yeah, social awkwardness and all that. And it's because you'll never convince me it's because of heavy metals in their body. And so it's either a vaccine or it's the way we eat and all the processed foods.
Right.
And we definitely need to get back to a holistic approach. And I know in North Georgia, we have people down here too, but a lot of my friends in North Georgia that you know as well, they believe in holistic, your own
Sure.
milk and your own farm and you farm raised eggs and chickens and they want to get off the grid and
Yes.
protect their health.
Yeah, I mean, you have to face the pharmaceutical lobby, which is the largest lobby, obviously, in America, and it's all oil-based pharmaceuticals, and they want to put us on these magic pills to make us lose weight. They want to put us on all these different kind of stuff to take care of our ailments, and they end up creating all these adverse side effects, and we're basically poisoning ourselves. So, as a member of Congress, would you be very open to a more holistic approach?
Absolutely, more holistic approach. And as far as pharmaceuticals go, I will be pushing back on the monopoly there. Our private independent pharmacists from being screwed out of money every
Right.
single day, and these they're forced to take money at a lesser rate because these monopolies tell them they have to.
Right.
And it's insane. I mean, I'm telling you, government control and the pharmaceutical industry, healthcare, farming. They're destroying everything. That's how it works.
That's how
The
it
government
feels.
gets involved, they destroy it.
Yes. Now, as far as the budget, the deficit, we started out very strong in 2025 with the Doge plan, red tape rollback, you name it, and it seems to have
last
fallen.
It didn't last long, did it, Roy? It didn't
No, it
last long.
seemed to fall by the wayside. So, as a member of Congress, how do you stand on this? What kind of things would you do to mitigate our deficit and bring us back into a balanced sort of budget?
I mean, I'm going to stand on my head and demand we get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse immediately. That has to happen. We're hemorrhaging at the federal level, being so top heavy, and everybody's making money. All the grants, I mean, and people, you look at all these different programs.
Stock market.
It's just insane. We look at the different grants all these different communities are getting for this and this and this, but the kids aren't reading. Literacy rates are the lowest they've ever been.
Right.
These programs don't work. Why is the federal government funding all these things? Stop taking my money out of my check so that you can print more money than that because you can't stay within your budget, and then you make it where everything that I have to buy costs more, and I have no say.
Right.
Sick of it.
Absolutely. So, I would ask you this question, and I think we'll go to the comments. Of course, I'm going to give you a chance to we'll just circle back around. But if you were elected to Congress tomorrow, what would be your top 3 priorities that you'd spend the first couple months hitting the ground with?
Well, I said that I would start out making a law where you cannot leave Congress or Senate, the House or the Senate, and go and work as a lobbyist for foreign nations.
That would be amazing.
You manipulate and you control with the power that you've wielded, and you're making millions of dollars working for foreign nations and running our Congress. How should that be legal?
How can dual citizenship be legal either? I think that should be one that we should get completely away from. But
yeah, I mean, and I want to do something to focus on mental health, and mental health hospitals have been eliminated, and there is a place for mental health hospitals. We're seeing homeless numbers through the roof. We have addicts that are in jail, and they're not criminals, they are addicts, and they need help. We need Christian-based programs to help rehabilitate. That's what research shows works, is Christian-based rehabilitation programs for addiction. And we have to have some hospitals, and we're going to have to fund some. We're going to have to do that, because our jails are busting at the seams, and we're having to build new jails, which are millions and millions of dollars these communities cannot handle because they're the housing place for the mentally ill. And so we have to do something with that. That's going to have to happen. And I know that's probably
Well,
not going to.
We've got our first mental health hospital that's being built right now in Georgia, what I think is a good direction, and I think that we're going to see a shift in that. At least I hope so. I hope it's in a positive direction.
Yeah, well, it's all. Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about Georgia, but it's all over the country. I mean,
Exactly.
we hear about
Sure.
People don't shoot up schools or public places or men that are talking about Jesus. They don't shoot him. They don't do that unless they are deranged and they need help. Right,
Yeah,
sick
and some
people,
of them heavily medicated.
Right, right. So we've let things go, political correctness, and we've let things go way too loose.
Right. And well, one last question that I want.
I want prison reform.
Yes.
I want to get rid of the IRS. I want the Department of Education completely shut down at the federal level. I mean, there's so many things that I want to work on, and I want the judicial system shored up. We've got a lot of issues there, and with lawsuits and just waste. But the elections is going to be one of my top priorities because you know how much I care about them. And then we have, like we talked about, the regulations that need to come in place with the data centers but foreign influence in this country has got to be reined in.
Yeah,
it's
out of control.
It's just so out of control.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one, I guess, last question that, because I ask these questions to state people, but this may not be a state issue, for you, but like we are being inundated with all kinds of PAC money from the gambling lobby. And gambling has been a hot button issue for a very long time in Georgia. And now for the first time, it's kind of reared its ugly head, and they're making this move. And I just want you to tell me, there's not a right or wrong answer here. I've asked every person that's been on the show, but give me your overall view. Do you agree that Georgia should become this gambling state where we have the online sports betting casinos, or do you have a different take? What is your take on gambling?
I don't like gambling. My daddy was a gambler, and he liked to drink as well, and he was a sweetheart, but he loved to gamble. It's an addiction. And people have pornography addictions, they have gambling addictions, they have alcohol and drug addictions, they have addictions with pedophilia. There's all kind of addictions that you can have, and so addiction is sin. And so I don't want sports gambling or any other kind of gambling being accessible to my children and to young adults and to young husbands or even older men that, I want to protect the family unit. And what I see gambling is a destruction piece, just like pornography. I compare gambling to pornography. It's an addiction, and it releases the same chemical in the brain. I do have a PhD in counseling. I understand how that works, and it's the same release. And so I don't want to see families destroyed.
Right.
And gambling will put you there. It will totally destroy your family. And sin will take you, I think it'll take you further than you wanted to go and keep you longer than you wanted to stay.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So, all right. Well, since we're on a live, we're going to go to the comments. Okay. There are quite a bit of comments. So I'm going to try to pick out some of the questions too. All right. So, Will Jones, good to see you. Nice to see you, says Dr. Kandiss Taylor. We love you.
I love Will.
Happiness Jamie is here. She's not a fan of you, and she says that you screwed the grassroots at the Georgia GOP convention. Your behavior was awful, and you're a McCoon lover. Would you like to respond to that?
Well, like I said earlier, it's easy to judge things when you don't talk to people. And like I said before, all the things about the convention that happened that people were so upset about, I had nothing to do with. I was in nominations for 2 whole days. Had no idea any of that was going on. And I'm not going to get into all the things that happened in nominations or before the convention. And Roy, you know some of this because you and I talked about it, because I'm not going to stay in the past. But I didn't run that convention. I had no power over that convention. But blame me. I can be the scapegoat. Blame me. But be thankful that I'm involved and I'm engaged and that I'm honest and I had the guts to put my name on a ballot. And, if you feel so strongly about it, put your name on a ballot.
Gotcha. Happiness, Jamie. It's good to see you. Thank you for being on the show. Sarah Webster. Wow, Sarah Webster's on the show. Good to see you, Sarah. She says Kandiss went to the dark side. Would you like to respond to that?
Sarah knows all about the dark side. I'll leave that there.
Okay. All right. Well, Sarah, it's good to have you on the show. We talk quite a bit on Facebook, and even though this is what I love, being able to agree or disagree, but have conversation. Matthew Palmer. I don't know Matthew, but I've been following Matthew. He says it would be a true blessing to be represented by someone like Kandiss Taylor. Thank you, and thank you, sir. So you got a fan there?
He's a wonderful man, and I'll say we were talking about policy a while ago. Matthew he's an activist for fathers and child custody and being treated equally. And I am too. I've spent my career making sure children have both parents. They need both parents, especially when parents, if they have an abusive parent and a parent that, can't function, that's one thing, but that's not usually the case. It's usually irreconcilable differences, and we divorce, and then you have one parent that gets way more time than the other, and if they can't get along, the child doesn't get both parents, and that's not okay. And it shouldn't always be the daddy that doesn't get to see their kid. That's not right. And so Matthew is an activist for that, and I'll do everything I can to help him. Yes. And he's a great man. Yeah.
And speaking of that, we bring up quite a bit on the show about foster kids and the system that we have for them. It needs a serious upgrade. There's a lot of really bad things that go along with foster children in the system, and I think part of that is reform to make it easier for families to get foster children, and good families, and get them out of that system. So, absolutely.
I agree.
All right. Rhonda Jack says, we love candy.
That's right. I love Rhonda Jacks. Her son just left my house this morning, going 5 hours back up to North Georgia.
Cooper. Yes. Awesome. Kevin Parker says, Kandiss Taylor, the one we've been waiting for, Jesus, Guns, and Baby. And there's Cooper Jacks right now. It says, Kandiss is awesome. Let's see. Matthew Palmer says, it's good to know who hates you, and it's good to be hated by the right people. And that was a quote by Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Kevin,
I even people like saying negative things on here, I forgive them and I love them, and they believe things that aren't true, because I've never in my heart wanted to be mean, wanted to hurt someone. That's not who I am. And so if people want to twist and contort, they can. You can be so nice to people, and they will choose not to like you anyway. They may not like the way you do your hair, or they don't like what you wear, or they don't like the way you talk, or whatever. You can't please everybody. And I've learned that in life, that all I can do is me, and have a pure heart, and forgive those who attack, and move forward. And so that's what I do.
That's what we eventually all have to do. So, absolutely. Will Jones says they definitely will play on people not knowing Robert's Rules of Order. Duly noted. We all need to remember that. Bunny Blankenship, good to see you. It says the Lord took care of that meeting when he blew the doors off. That was wild when the doors blew off of the convention. I was there for that, and that was absolutely crazy. So, well,
the Lord will do things to show you what needs to happen, won't he?
That's right. I can't argue with that. Christina Benjamin, good to see you, says, if anyone questions what happened at the convention, there are videos out there with clear vision of the microphone areas. Yes, yes.
I saw them after.
It was pretty disgraceful. All right. Jan Sheffield says, boy, she's awful gutsy to come on here. Isn't she? Is she aware of how many people she alienated at the convention? Is she that dense? So I want to refrain a little bit here. We need to show Kandiss some grace. I know that people are very upset about the convention, but she's addressed it.
Attacked me before the convention. So Jan, was a friend of mine. I thought, this is how your friends will do you. And her husband, prayer warrior, I was so disappointed. She's attacked me online over and over and over with lies for months before the convention ever happened. So she's saying the convention, but this went back, and I don't know what happened and what made her turn on me, but she definitely did. And I forgive her, and I hope the best for her, but I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Well, Jan, I appreciate your comment. Like I said, we're gonna move from the convention there. Let's see. Sally Newland says vote for Kandiss Taylor. And Jan, let's see. There's some responses here. You can go back and read the comments as well. And Christina, she says the delegates were not given a choice on method of voting, clickers versus papers. Yeah, and we'll end up doing another convention episode probably right at the year mark, so we can kind of take a look back. So absolutely. But let's see. Matthew Palmer says we don't want solar farms or data centers in our backyards. Keep the special interest candidates away from our district.
Amen.
I agree. Let me come down here. And Will Jones says it's because Democrat David Scott has been the chairman of the Farmers Committee for over a decade, and he overall dictated where the money went and came from. I'm not sure if that exactly what that was about. Maybe you know. Let's see. Let me go down here. The Georgia Independent. Taylor. Oh, wow. The Georgia Independent's on here. Okay. Taylor was paid by the Appleton County Schools to campaign. She has also dragged a veteran to court over false allegations as the judge agreed and tried to have their guns removed from their home.
Lies.
Gotcha.
Lies. All lies.
All right. Lisa Adams. Good to see you, Lisa. Oh, my, no more eminent domain to take the land for anything. Let's see here. She says, disagree that we have to progress with the AI. The U.S. has 3,000 mass surveillance centers and China barely has 300. And she's right.
I read that. I read that this week. It really is a little bit, we're being a little obscene with it.
Right. And that's what I go back to. And I'm not prepared to go because people know how I feel about data centers. And I've never said that we shouldn't have data centers. But again, I think that and I don't want to get off into this tonight, but I think we're being told I don't think we know exactly what these data centers are for. I don't even think they're being planned for us. And when you look at what China has compared to the U.S., and the China theory just completely falls apart. So I think we all just need to get very, very educated on what is coming in the future, because I don't have a good feeling about it, Candice. I don't have a good feeling about it. I know we don't need to go off into the weeds, but if you're going up into Congress, I think it's going to be a very big subject moving forward. So
it's a very big subject. The last probably 2 months, but I mean, at first it was some people, and then it has just boomed.
Yes. And Will Jones says if we don't have data centers, we won't have all the podcasters pop into people having websites for their small business. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I would give up my podcast in a heartbeat probably to mitigate data centers. But again, I think, like I said, I think we need to do a lot of research, Will, on data centers. It's only going to get more broader discussion. But let's hope that there's some good stuff in there for humans. Let's see. Kevin Parker. Okay, good to see you, sir. Christina Benjamin says Georgia's already the third state for data centers. No more data centers in Georgia. We've had cell phones for years without us having mass surveillance centers. Don't believe there is a connection. Again, I can't argue with you, Christina. Let's see.
I just think the data center for AI. I mean, I
think that's what they say. I mean,
why?
I'm not disagreeing. They're all for AI. I watched a presentation that I guess was directed from Governor Kemp from the University of Georgia, where a gentleman went to several Rotary clubs. And when I can find this video again, but I couldn't believe it. But they basically laid it out to people. I mean, and I can't find this video. I've tried, but they've scrubbed it from the internet right now. And it basically says that we're entering into the fourth revolution, which is the artificial intelligence revolution. It's all about the AI. And that basically they need this net for war. They need this net for controlling people. They need this for a big sea change in our society. And so it's got me very paranoid. I don't think these are going to be our friends. So I don't know, but we'll see.
We do believe in the mark of the beast, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And if you read the Bible and you understand how the future goes, and you think about the mark of the beast, the Antichrist, and all-seeing, all-knowing, artificial intelligence, they say that if it ever becomes sentient, it'll be up to just a single, artificial intelligence strand will be 1,000 times smarter than human beings. So that's a very scary outlook. And then you have a very small group of people that's trying to control it. And where does that leave the rest of us, right? Where does that leave us with our food and our water and our essentials of life, and how are we going to live? And I'm sure, Candice, you've seen where they've put the kill switches in the cars now after 2027, where they'll be able to shut your car off and do all these things. I mean, it's kind of a technocratic world they're building for us. And then if you add the digital currency and all that,
we have no land to grow food, right? Because
exactly.
we have data centers and solar panel farms everywhere.
Right. And I think they would rather us believe that it's an arms race with China, when in actuality, what I'm reading this week, Germany actually has more data centers. It's kind of like Russia and Germany and the U.S. are like far exceeding China and everywhere else in data centers. So we could totally get off into the weeds of that. But you can see as the comments, this is very hot topic. So...
But let's worry about the state convention that I had no control over.
Like I said, you've spoken your piece.
That I was running the convention.
Right, I understand. And
really, I would like to know what they thought I could do different. Well, I didn't know, and I was in a back row.
I think. I mean, look, I'm not defending you or myself or anything, but I was not prepared for that. And believe me, and I know.
I could have taken the microphone and shut the crap down had I known and been out of order and got kicked out of the room, and I'd have been happy to do it. Didn't know anything about it, but I would just continue to get blamed for something I didn't know about.
I think it's a really, it's a very touchy subject, and a lot of people are just very unhappy with how it turned out. So, and I understand, and
I'm angry at somebody, but at some point, let's take ownership for we need to be better at controlling our own conventions.
Well, I totally agree with that. Yeah, we do. We need to be better at it. And I think maybe this convention it will give people the proper motivation to do that, right? So, absolutely. Terry Bailey says hello. Let's see here.
Hey, Terry.
Thomas White, good to have you on the show. Sally Newman says save our rivers and our forests. I totally agree. Thomas White says, who blew it up with Tannerite? So he's talking about the Georgia Guidestones. I don't think it was Kandiss Taylor. Is that correct?
Whoever did it needs to be handcuffed and put in jail.
Sure.
Okay? Because I'm being blamed for something I didn't do, right?
That's crazy.
I mean, they were satanic and they were a shrine to Satan, and I don't think they have any place in Georgia.
Yeah, and I'll be the one to go on record. I'm glad that they were blown up. I don't condone that at all. But again, I have my own mixed feelings. I always wanted to actually see them in person myself, just to see them. You know, I never got a chance to see them. But you know what? I'm okay with that. So.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything, Roy.
No.
I've got footage you can watch if you want to.
Well, I follow a channel called True Stream Media, and they did a whole thing about it and after it. But it was pretty recent. Was it Axios did that little documentary about it where they showed the video cameras in the gray car and the people getting out and all that. So interesting stuff. I doubt we'll ever find out. David Newland, he says, I'll just read this reply because he replied to the Georgia Independent. Another big lie by the Georgia Independent. This guy is a great big liar that clearly hates Kandiss and likes Kingston's California Chinese connections. Get to know Kandiss. She is a good Christian conservative. I don't think Mr. Georgia Independent does any quality reporting. I mean, I like the Georgia Independent. From what I've seen so far, the guy's kind of a hard hitter, but you know that doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. But I appreciate the Georgia Independent being here with us tonight. That's pretty cool. So,
well, I don't appreciate any journalist who lies.
Right, and I understand. And like I said, if we need to discuss that, we can discuss it. I know this has been brought up in the past, but and these are just the comments. Let's see here.
I mean, slander and defamation are real things.
They are, absolutely. Christina, this is a good comment. Christina says, Brad should have never had been allowed to run as a Republican. The Georgia GOP State Committee should have done what Wyoming did with Liz Cheney. I do find it a little funny, and not that I'm just saying this, and you had nothing to do with this, but we did vote as the body to remove Brad Raffensperger off the Republican ticket, but now it's like he's pulling all of this crap, and now they're coming out and saying, well, we can't do that, and now they're demanding that he abides by the you know what I'm saying? It's like, what's going on here? We could have handled this guy, you know. So
well, I wish he wasn't getting to run as a Republican as well. But I will say, if we had fair legal elections, he would never win.
Yeah, that's I
and
can't
that's how
argue
our
with that.
constitutional republic is supposed to work. And we should never have let it get to this point where we don't trust our elections.
Right. I agree. So there's some back and forth here in the comments, and I urge you, Kandiss, you can go back and read the comments because we won't spend too much more time on them. David Newland, Sally Newland is here. Thank y'all for being on the show. Carol Streeter, good to have you on the show. Matt Day is here. And
I'll say about Captain Newland, he is he is a fishing business, but we will be protecting our fishing in Georgia and our shrimp industry. And
Right.
we have the best shrimp in Georgia of anywhere. Georgia shrimp tastes different, and I will be protecting that and fighting for them guys every single time they need me. They can
Right.
count on that.
Absolutely. So, Jeff Edwards, good to have you on the show. So politics is nothing more than a rich man's game, and the poor are paying for it. So,
Amen.
It kind of feels like that.
And attacked, and the poor are attacked by their own people.
Yeah. It's certainly, I call it a clown show, and it is a clown show, and I hope that we can change that. So, let's see here. Let me go down here. We got a lot of good comments. I can't read them all tonight, but I'm trying to get through as many as I can. Christina,
I'm glad that I came on and got everybody excited so they could talk, right, Roy?
Christina Benjamin says vaccines are
Let
not.
me hate me, right?
Well, like I said, you're a controversial character. I mean, you really are. You've been in this a long time, and like I said, people are passionate about these things. But I appreciate that you came on and wanted to do a live stream tonight. And
I still haven't heard one thing that I did that was wrong against the Republican Party or against people, but a lot of things that are assumptions and lies. It's crazy, but people believe nonsense, and that's the hill they want to die on. It makes no sense whatsoever.
well, I would urge everybody to try to talk to Kandiss Taylor. Talk to her, send her a message. Try to figure things out. She is running for Congress down in South Georgia, and she's not afraid to be here. And I'm not afraid to read any comments at all, but we can't go on too much longer. So, Christina Benjamin says vaccines are not really vaccines; they're injections, and some of the substances being injected are straight up toxins and bioweapons. That is probably the comment of the night. Do you know Christina Benjamin?
I know her well. She's a very intelligent young lady.
Yeah, she is.
Very
she is.
She's a fighter.
Constantly amazes me.
Yep.
Let's see. And ask her about banning chemtrails, weather warfare on a federal level. So that's a great question. Marjorie Taylor Greene, before she left us, she was working on legislation to ban chemtrails. Obviously, we know that there's people out here that think we're crazy kooks for talking about chemtrails. Would you continue that legislation and fight for Georgia skies?
Absolutely. Chemtrails are real.
Okay.
They've been proven real. Tennessee's already got legislation. Florida's
31 states, I believe.
just pretending like we don't. And I just use them because they're right around us. But
That's right.
pretending like something doesn't exist. I said something about fake floods, and I was talking about the hurricane that was unnatural that hit me and had $60,000 of damage on my property, and then went to North Carolina and destroyed and decimated that area. And they said I was talking about the hurricane or the flood, the storm that happened in Texas. Wasn't even talking about that. But regardless, they found out they had cloud seeded there multiple times before that happened. And so, went on the Rolling Stones, went viral. They twist everything I say. So what's sad to me, Roy, is the Democrats love to twist what I say, and they pervert it and they twist it. I've done really well this campaign trying not to have things perverted and twisted, but you can't, a depraved mind, you really can't try to avoid stuff because they're going to say and do anything, lie, straight up lie, no conscience. They'll just do that. But the Democrats do that. What's sad is when people who say the Republicans do it, and we do it to our own people, it's wrong. And if someone's wrong and they've done something to hurt someone, or they've not a good person and they're not who they say they are, we should hold them accountable. But making up lies and no receipts, just lies, is wrong. And so, yeah, I won't talk about my job in public education because I don't talk about that while I'm running for office. But I will tell you, I work extremely hard. I'm about 800 hours over my contract because I work so hard. I work weekends, nights for my job, and I'm salaried. Mm-hmm. So people that say that I haven't got my hours in or I've cheated anybody is a liar. And I have everything I've ever done documented. And people that do that and say that, could very well be hit with a lawsuit for defamation and slander. So be careful lying about people.
Yes. I mean, I agree. Like I said, if it's something that you can work it out, absolutely.
Well, the Bible says you're supposed to go to your brother and sister and you're supposed to talk about it. And then if that doesn't work, you're supposed to go with a crowd of witnesses. And if that doesn't work, you're supposed to go before the church. So all of these steps that you call yourself a Christian, you're supposed to do. It's not get behind little keyboard ninjas and post on social media lies when you haven't even approached and try to work things out. And I mean, like I've said, Roy, you and I have not agreed on things, and we talked about it 1-to-1.
Yes.
And it wasn't what you thought or what I thought. So that's why we're supposed to do that.
Sure. We've always maintained a cordial relationship. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I've got no ill will. I mean, I'm not putting blame out on you, or even I mean, I don't know how to say this, but like, if we don't figure out ways, like I say this often on the show, and I'm not a politician. I'm never going to run for an office or anything like that. And I don't even know how much longer I'll be doing Small Town Underground. But I do know one thing, that some of the people, we all get emotional. And I know that we go to bed, and we're going to all go to bed Tuesday night. And we're all going to go and we're going to do our civic duty and we're going to vote. And then Wednesday morning, we're going to wake up and there's going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers. But everybody's still going to be there, right? And what do we do with that, right? What do we do? So the winners will go on and they'll take this to either the runoff or in November. And the losers, what are they just going to pack up? Are they going to go home, or are they going to continue to fight, right? And so people that have disagreements and they have differences of opinion, and you got to understand it's all, a lot of it is emotional, right? We let our emotions get the better of us. But at the end of the day, I would much rather sit down and figure out what is the best ideas, and the best ideas should win. So sure, people that you might have problems with, that we might go through things with, in 6 months from now, you might have to sit down with that person and figure out what's the best solution forward. And I think that if we keep that kind of perspective in our minds and not look at each other so much as like enemies, I think that we'll be able to move forward better together. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense to me.
That's how I feel, and I want to create relationships. And I know a lot of people have questioned my, I guess, motives, which I have none, because I don't know how to be any other way. But even
me either.
My
I'm
door.
not a manipulative person. I'm not. I am who I say I am. I am what you see. And if I have ran for office twice, it's the third time, and I didn't go away. Right. How many candidates run and lose and stay engaged?
Right.
I don't know any. Tell me one. They leave. They don't stay engaged. I've stayed engaged because I'm not running because I want power. Mm-hmm. I could care less about that. I'm not running for money. I want my kids to live in a free, fair America. They deserve to live in America. It's very selfish for us to sit around and not get engaged. It ain't for everybody to run, but you should do what Roy's doing here, or you should donate money, or you should put out signs, or you should tell somebody, hey, vote for this person, learn about this person. We can all have a part. If we don't, then we're just throwing our country away. And we had the freest, best country in the world, and then our kids don't because we were lazy and selfish. And I'm not good with that. I love my kids with all my heart. I want my kids to be in a free America, and I will do anything I can to make that happen. Right.
Absolutely. And so I know we're getting a little bit further on time. I wanted to send a shout out to Bucky Way Casey. He was in there tonight. Good to see you. And Mike Dean Tiles, good to see you. And of course, we got Matt Day, Angel Rosario, Thomas White. We just keep getting more and more. I urge you to go in the comments, have a conversation. So, and Matt Day says, I'm hard on Candiss, but I do like her. I agree with most of her stances. I'm like her opponent, Brian. He says, I like her opponent, Brian Montgomery, better. Rodney, Kathy Lanning, good to see you this evening. Let's see here.
Oh, I love Kathy Lanning. Oh, she's so sweet. All these people that supported me for governor, and I haven't seen him forever.
Okay, so final thoughts. I'm going to leave you with the last, and you are the last Meet the Candidate of the Small Town Underground series. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you doing the live. I do urge you to go back through the comments, and just I'm going to leave you with the last word.
Well, Roy, thank you for having me. You're my friend. I love you. We're not always in agreement on everything, and maybe didn't understand some things because we were in different perspectives, but we've always come back together, and I will do everything I can to help you when I'm in Congress. You will have my phone number. You can call me anytime you need me. You know that. And I will do my best to stay true to who I am and grounded in the Word. And I just want everybody that's in Georgia's 1st District, if you haven't voted, I'm asking you for your vote. I'd be honored to have your vote. And if you're anywhere in this state or this country and you're watching and you know somebody in Georgia's 1st District, I'm going to ask you to message them and tell them to go to the poll tomorrow and vote for Kandiss Taylor. And I'm going to do everything I can every single day to fight for our freedom. You have my word on that. It will not be about me. It will not be about money. And it will not be about power. It will be about the people of this country and our constitutional republic being protected at all costs. I love you.
All right. Well, Kandiss, it's great to hear from you. You know, I wish you the best down in South Georgia. I know tomorrow is going to be a big day for everybody. Please make your plans if you haven't voted to go vote. I appreciate everybody and all the support for these Meet the Candidates. I had a lot more fun than I thought I would doing all this. And again, thank you all for supporting Small Town Underground. And we will be doing a live show on Wednesday. I'll set out the ad, but after that, I'll probably take a couple weeks off to do a few other things. So, guys, thanks for being with me. I'll see you guys on Wednesday night. Y'all have a good evening.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.